Hey, what's up? Travel Chronicles election special, and there are no results yet. It's only like 4 something in the afternoon, so they still got 2 hours in Ohio on the East Coast, I think, before most of the polls close. Not sure how late they're staying up tonight, but there's a possibility that come tomorrow morning we're not going to know who the president is definitively, and that's fine for me. It is as crazy as this year has been, as close as the polling has been, and based off of what happened last presidential election cycle, where all the polls said Hillary Clinton was going to win, and she won the popular vote, but she didn't win the states, which is important, because that's how this country's divided up. You have to win the nation. You have to have a broad range in appeal. You can't just appeal to large population centers. So I fully expect us to not know the results, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna go out with my gun and start looting and burning stuff down and breaking into shops because we don't know who the president is. That's not how democracy works. The way the year's been with coronavirus, it may take a while to get all these votes counted, these absentee ballots counted, and they're going to want to count every single one because of everything that's been said leading up to this. And you've got some prominent people out there. You've got the Attorney General for Pennsylvania saying that there's no way Trump's going to win when all the ballots are counted. That's kind of suspicious. I don't think you can say that, especially when he won your state last time. And since that election, you've had 150,000 people register as Republicans. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there were some Democrats that voted for him last time because they didn't want to vote for Hillary. That, the Democratic Party thinks they've corrected that problem. But the more that I watch coverage of Joe Biden and, especially here in the waning days of this election process, man, he looks bad. And it's not just, you look at clips from before, in the first decade of the 2000s, the aughts, whatever you want to call it, in 2008, 12, 15 years ago, when he was going through that presidential election, like, he actually sounded coherent. Like, his thoughts were, kind of well presented. May not agree with him, may not have liked him, but he could make it through a sentence without stumbling and forgetting what he wanted to say. And now you watch, and I understand they're clips and they're probably cut, not flatteringly, but man, it's a struggle. And there's a lot. It may not just be that there was one little blip here that just is getting blown out. Like, there's a lot of different things. And I know he's saying a lot of the same things over and over, but yikes. Come on, man. That's kind of like his fallback when he doesn't know what to say. Come on, man. And it is. It's not hard to see what the Congress did when they, I don't know if they modified it, but just kind of put an emphasis on whatever it was, the 25th or 26th amendment there, where they could kind of determine presidential capability and step in if they needed to. That I don't think that was for Donald Trump. That was for Joe Biden. Joe Biden's going to struggle, and you just wonder, like, man, how did they get this guy? Because there were some pretty well-spoken people in the Democratic debates that just kind of de-pantsed him, and he de-pantsed himself several times, where he just, said the wrong things and just misspoke and was all over the place. And how does that guy get the nomination? And part of it's name recognition, right? Because, this is the guy that ran with Obama. Yeah, I remember that guy. But, the Democratic cycle is kind of, okay, you have the president, then his vice president's going to run. Well, the vice president didn't get it last time because Hillary Clinton beat him in the primaries. I don't remember him. Did he run? Whatever happened there, he didn't win the nomination. She had more standing as the Secretary of State, even though I think she abandoned that post at the end. And all the stuff that happened in Benghazi, that was, she wasn't a leader. That was her problem. And Joe Biden's kind of the same way. He's not a leader. And I don't know that Barack Obama was a leader either. He was just way, way more charismatic and a much better orator and speech giver, and could stay on point a heck of a lot better than Biden or even Hillary Clinton. But I don't think he was a tremendous leader either. None of these people accomplished anything outside of politics, and Hillary Clinton's career is, conspicuously short. Let's say that. She was senator for a while, Secretary of State, and then she's going to run for president. It almost worked. But I still think a lot of that was based on what her husband did, who was governor and then president of the United States. Even he was impeached in his last term. So, there's some things that Trump has done where you look at it and say, well, he could be the first impeached president to be reelected. And that'd be crazy. From that standpoint. But, you look at what the House has done, and they're just like angry little kids, trying to impeach the president, and it happened to work out for them because they had the numbers. Then it went to the Senate, and it was like, no, sorry. But you kind of wonder if the Democrats get control of the Senate, could they actually impeach him based on who knows what kind of crazy charge, because he said something in a phone call once? Come on, man. Come on, he said one thing in a phone call. It's a little ridiculous. But Biden is terrible, and then you have Kamala Harris. If the Democrats lose this, and I think they're going to lose because I think the polls are completely wrong. And that's a weird thing to say, right? Because they're polls. And what they'll come back with is they'll say, oh, well, we were within the margin of error, so we weren't wrong. And that's true. But what you're spreading and what you're selling is disingenuous, because, you're not out there, well, according to the margin of error, we don't know who's going to win. It's like, oh, Biden's up by 0.2 of a point. Biden's ahead. Biden's winning. Biden's going to win, according to our polls. And there's just, for whatever reason, and I think it's partly media and social media where people will get chastised for saying that they would vote for Trump, where they won't say it. You're not going to make that declaration, but you'll go in there when nobody's watching and you have your own privacy, and it's like, oh, who do you want to be president? I want Trump. I don't want Biden. But I think when the Democrats look back on this, they're going to have to, they can't keep sending up senators as presidential candidates. It does not work. It is a horrible, horrible playbook. And they've got to get these people out. And the reps that were running, like Tulsi Gabbard, I appreciate her. I think she's well-spoken. I think she could handle herself well. I think she is probably a leader in the Democratic Party. It's a shame that she's in Hawaii, which is mostly Democrat, and she has to run as a Democrat and have these Democrat kind of ideals. I think she'd be a good Republican. I think she'd be a good moderate anyway. But I don't know all of her stances. Maybe she will. Maybe she's just way out there. But she's at least well-spoken, where you could listen to her and hear her points instead of just brushing her off as a wackadoo right off the bat. But they've got to settle in on a governor or somebody who's a leader in the Democratic Party. And I think part of the problem is, though, that where their big leaders are, New York, Los Angeles, California, those people, those areas are so poorly led, that those people just get picked apart. You want to talk about COVID, and they want to blame President Trump for all the COVID deaths. Well, New York's got 30-some thousand deaths in that state, Democratic run. New York City, Democratic run. That's the leadership there that got 33,000 people killed, like right off the bat in the first month and a half. Because they weren't ready, they were ill prepared, and all of a sudden, Donald Trump was supposed to somehow be able to save that city. No, that's your local leader that you're elected right there next to you that has to be working for you, and they did not. So those people are almost unelectable. And then you look at the state of California with the high tax rates, a lot of prominent, I don't even know if they're Republican leaning, but they're entertainment type people like Joe Rogan is getting out of California. I think the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, I think that group is looking to leave as well. So and anytime you see like a video of California, like you just see these tent cities and just like a wasteland of drug paraphernalia and human waste all over the streets, and like that's the problem they're dealing with out there. It's like people don't want to live there, and why would you elect those people as leaders of your country? Not. So, maybe that's why they can't. And if you have some Democratic governor from the mid states, you're going to carry the coast, but you're maybe not going to carry the coast in the primaries, and that's the problem, right? That's the holdback. It's just their whole system is flawed. But their answer is, if Biden does get elected, let's add more states. Let's add District of Columbia. Let's add Puerto Rico as a state. Let's get up to 52 states. Let's add, 4 more Democratic senators, because those areas are like 97% Democrat. It's like adding California on steroids. And there's just zero Republican influence, which is odd because you would think D.C. would be 50-50. You have so many Democrats, so many Republicans there that would be split, but it's not at all. That doesn't make any sense to me. How it can be slanted so one way. Well, tomorrow we may or may not know who's president. But whenever we do, I'll do a Travel Chronicles reaction. I may take it easy until then, just until we see. But, I just don't see this Democrat strategy working. They got the media in the bag for them, but what they're selling, I don't think people are buying it. People have their own opinions. We're a fairly independent people, so, and especially when you sequester somebody individually and you get to make that choice, that's when the rubber meets the road, essentially. And what are you going to do then? What's your pick actually going to be? Where do you really land? Where do your values really put you? How bad is Donald Trump? One thing about Donald Trump is if you don't like Donald Trump, you for whatever stance he has, that stance doesn't change. Like like he has a better record actually with the LGBTQ, whatever all the letters are. He actually has a better record with those people than what Joe Biden does, because Joe Biden was out there against gay marriage and all that. Even back in the 90s, Donald Trump was like, hey, you can, do whatever. And He's like, that's not what I'm doing, but he's like, you can do it if that's what you're into. And he's been consistent since then, and Joe Biden has not been. He's for whatever group he's standing in front of, and whatever their opinion is. He's a very typical politician. It's very frustrating. And it's frustrating that people can't see that. I don't understand it. He does the same thing with fracking. Whatever group he's in front of, oh, we're going to get rid of fossil fuels. And he's in Pennsylvania. He's like, oh, we're going to keep on fracking. Well, you can't do both. So you're lying to one group or the other. Just tell us which side you're on. When Donald Trump is out there, oh, we're going to frack. We're fracking. We're not going to get rid of it. So you know where he stands. He wants energy independence, which I think this is the most energy independent the United States has ever been. And we're not at war with any, he didn't start a new war with any country in the Middle East for whatever reason, right? Somehow we didn't get attacked by terrorists. All these old political playbooks are kind of going by the, well, I mean, we did get attacked by terrorists in Orlando, right? And now we have some of these domestic shootings and stuff. But, I mean, maybe that just speaks to how good of a job Homeland Security's doing. I don't think their strategy is very good. I don't think he's a very good candidate. He's been back and forth so many times. John Kerry, George Bush was able to paint him as a flip-flopper where he had all kind of different stances. And Joe Biden is just, he's not even a flip-flopper. He's just a leaf on the breeze that just goes wherever the breeze is blowing him. Whatever room he's in front of, that's what he's for. And it's just, even right now. And it's just such a crazy, sad thing. And he's not very good at delivering his speeches anymore, or his lines, or his talking points. They get lost really quick. And you can kind of tell, like, he's just out there as almost like a puppet. And if he gets elected, oh my goodness, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a free-for-all. Like for private industries. Like Donald Trump kind of called him out. I was like, look, I could raise as much money as you if I just took money from whoever. And you're kind of seeing what he was saying. Like, if you look at where Joe Biden came from Delaware, you do a little bit of research. MBNA actually gave him, one of the largest banks in the country, gave him, a lot of money to his campaign. I think he bought a mansion off of the CEO or something for a real reasonable price. Maybe bought some land off of a vice president who bought the land previously, like 5 years before that, paid the same price as what he paid. It's really, really sketchy stuff. And his kids are making money, his brothers are making money in fields that they have nothing in. And it's like, wow, maybe there is something to what Donald Trump was calling him out on. And I can only imagine how much money he's taken and how much he's sold to special interests, for this campaign. Because even if you weren't for Biden, hey, here's, a couple $100,000, for your campaign, and we'll be in touch with what we want afterwards if you win. You'd definitely be hedging your bets if you're a company or corporation, because then you get in. Then you can get his ear. And he'll just do whatever. I think it could be bad. All right. That's all I got for now. Make sure you vote. Be careful. COVID-free. Later.